Kampar, the vast, silent night broods over us, and from afar comes the sound of elephants. For a week we have been camping here in the jungle of Maratakus, situated on the Kampar, a river which curves above the equator like the coils of a mighty serpent. It is lonely here. The full moon casts a strange, sinister light over the ruins. Tuan, says my servant. Softly, I am afraid. Afraid? I ask, astonished. Well, yes, when the full moon shines, the elephants cross the river and go to the holy temples. Then they gather in a circle around the high tower and fall on their knees as a tribute to the spirit of their dead king who lies buried there. Silent, majestic night. The crickets sing and their voices mingle in the murmuring of the river. And why should the elephants drop on their knees to their deep to their dead leader? I think you hear such strange tales here in the east. But come, we are not here to dream but to excavate, and there is hard work. Tomorrow will be another busy day, for the gate which I have just discovered in the north wall encircling the temple buildings must be declared and measured. And so I spread my sleeping mat on the ground and lie down. I drowsed for a while. What a beautiful little log house we have, so near to the bank of the Kampar. A former governor had it built as a lodge for his hunting parties. Last year the elephants played with it and turned it into a ruin. But the new house is stronger, and besides, the river sings me, the river sings me gently to sleep. It is far, it is far past midnight when I awaken with a start. Around me stand a group of natives. Midon, my best worker, bends over me. The fold of his white turban sweeps over my face. In his hand he holds a large old-fashioned musket. May the Tuan pardon me. At first we did not want to awaken you, but now. A muffled growl interrupts him, a sound such I have never heard, which has the power to make the stoutest heart tremble. The voice of the jungle. In the village we heard the trumpeting and roaring of the elephants. They were descending from the misty mountain of Suligi. They crossed the river, heading straight for the Tuan's house. Then we were afraid and remembered that the Tuan was alone. Gone, gone, I interrupt impatiently. Where are they now? They are slowly coming nearer. In the quarter of an hour they may be here. We cannot escape. With an effort, I concentrate my thoughts and try to calculate the chances for the escape. If we were in the temple court, if we were in the temple court on top of the highest ring, we would be safe. But how to get there? The distance from the house is about 100 meters. If one had run hard. No, impossible. In imagination, I already see the elephants running out from the underbrush. For there is still another possibility. Near the lodge, the Kampar has a steep, abruptly descending bank. No elephant would dare to climb over the edge. If we can only reach this bank, we are safe. So said, so done. Stealthily, stealthily as cats, we descend and wait. A quarter of an hour later, the ground begins to tremble, and a tremendous racket fills the air. The rumbling of an elephant's stomach may be heard for miles, but never have we heard it so near at hand. It is loud as a klaxon, and is caused by the cracking of masses of young leaves and branches, with a huge breeze stripped from the trees with the greatest enjoyment. Meanwhile, they seem to talk and laugh in their hoarse voices, varied by shrill whistles and a trumpet-like blare. Dear little elephant that I once met in the zoo at Fort de Kock, how often I have fed you with peanuts and lumps of sugar. You told me, you told me you had relatives in the jungle of Muaratakus, cousins and aunts, and an old niece by marriage. Well, they certainly made a terrific noise at night. All the time they remained playing and walking about the temple grounds, and not until morning did they retire into the underbrush. That morning I shall remember it as long as I live. At sunrise, tired and shivering, I climbed up. I climbed up the high-risk bank and took a look over the forest. I did not meditate long, however, but took my tapes and notebooks and went over to the temple grounds. Come, I would measure the gate. While I stood writing, there came a muffled sound, not far from where I stood. It was as if something heavy had fallen on the ground. For a moment I had a vague suspicion, but quietly continued my walk. Soon the sound came again. It was as if someone were gathering firewood, and it must have been a tremendous walker, for suddenly the noise increased. Then instinctively I dropped everything I held in my hands, hurried over to Chanditua, the largest ruin, flew up the steps and crouched behind the central tower. For a moment nothing happened, for a moment deadly silence. Then with a thunderous roar, a tree crashed down precisely on the spot just been where I just had been where I had just been standing. The whole gate was covered by its branches. At the same time, another crash resounded. Branches were broken, the underbrush was torn aside. Two herds of elephants rushed into the temple court, fighting and screaming, striking each other with their mighty trunks. And then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they disappeared again into the woods on the other side. My heartbeat is my throat. In my heartbeat in my throat. For out the forest now came a third elephant. He remained standing in the sunlight, spread out his great ears. Slowly his trunk swung back and forth, seemed to search for something and then remained still. Apparently, the animal scented danger. In the distance sounded the voices of workmen approaching. The elephant listened. The elephant listened, then walked silently across the temple court. By the great tower he stopped, scratched himself against the wall, looked about for a moment, and then wandered pensively into the forest. At Muaratakus, on the right bank, on the Kampar Kanan, lies a number of ruins from the 11th and 12th centuries. They form part of a town which was entirely surrounded by an earthen animal and by an earthen wall. The space enclosed measures about 1.25 kilometers. The buildings are encircled by a sandstone measuring 74 times 74 meters. In April 1935, I excavated this brick foundation of a great gate, approximately in the middle of the northern wall. Since the surrounding wall is built over this foundation on opposite sides, the latter must be of an earlier date. Directly opposite the gate, on the south side of the courtyard, stands the best preserved building, the slender, graceful Madiga stupa. The foundation has the form of a rectangle and measures 9.44 times 10.60 meter. Inside, 52 centimeters behind the outer wall, is an older foundation decorated with pilasters. On the north side ascends a flight of steps, which have been twice rebuilt in the course of time. It is probable that at one time they supported a parapet with two kneeling elephants. Perhaps the gallery also had a low retaining wall. On the foundation stands a 28-sided pediment, decorated with blocks of yellow sandstone. From this pedestal ascends a round tower. As may be seen from the drawing of the body of the stupa, rests on a double lotus cushion. Within this flower is an older lotus. The crown of the stupa seems to have been 36-sided. On four sides were placed sitting lions of sandstone. The 36-angled section is followed by a regular octagon above, where it stands a frieze with 16 lion heads. The dome consisted of a sandstone lotus, which no doubt formerly supported a stupa. In the center of the tower was a hole about 2 meters deep, in which rested a wooden mast bearing several sunsets, one above the other. Each of the Maliga stupa lies a rectangular terrace 5.10 times 5.70 meter within an extension and a flight of steps on the north side. On the other wall are pilasters. West of the stupa lies a similar terrace called Candi Bungsu. It formerly supported a 26-sided foundation within a stupa in red of smaller stupas, which calls the upper terrace of the Borobudur. At the later period, this big terrace was enlarged on the north side by a sandstone stupa. On the east side ascends a flight of steps. On the height 20-sided base rests a low 36-sided base which bears a lotus. In this lotus was found a hollow filled with earth and ashes. Among the ashes lay 3 bits of gold leaf and a golden plate engraved with wajras and 3 letters. At the height of the 20-sided base lay a stone with 9 letters, and in the middle of each side a wajra. Immediately north of Candi Bungsu stands Candi Tua, the largest, though not the highest building of Muara Takus. The greatest length is 31.65 meter, the greatest width 20.20 meter. The ground story shows signs of reconstruction. The processional path has a very irregular bed. The second terrace is lower, but like the first is decorated with limestone pilasters. On the east and on the west side ascend flights of steps with lions. The stupa proper rests on a 36-sided base. On the lotus only an empty hollow was found. East of Candi Tua is excavated sandstone foundation measuring 13.20 times 16.60 meter, with sort of this hinge a foundation 5.75 times 7.75 meter came to flight. The temples of Muara Takus are probably the graves of royal personages. Malays say that the Hindu ruler was transformed into an elephant, and for this reason great herds of elephants regularly visit the ruins to do homage to the spirit of the departed ancestor. Close to the temples is a shallow ford which the animal cross whenever they descend from Mount Suligi to the plains. It is remarkable that since time immemorial the stupa court has been their favorite playground, where they walk about and disport themselves all night long by the light of the moon. During the excavations of April 1935, we were able to verify this strange phenomenon from a personal experience. When one considers the antiquity of animal trails in the jungle and elephants' extreme conservatism, it seems likely that even centuries ago, that animals betook themselves to Muara Takus, and for this reason the place had an aura of sanctity. The Malays must have considered it a so-called elephant's dancing ground, such as still known in India. This may also be the reason where the Hindus built their temples on this particular spot. As long as the city lay here, the elephants and the tourists stayed away. But after its destruction, the jungle reclaimed her rights, and the lords of the wood retrod their ancient paths. In the year in the year one, one o, in the year 1003, the king Seli Chula Unifumatio Sri Sudamani Wagmadewa sent to envoys to China to bring tribute. They told that in the country a Buddhist temple had been erected in order to pray for the long life of the emperor, and that they wanted a name and bells for it, by which the emperor would show that he appreciated their good intentions. An edict was issued by which the temple got the name of Chengten Wansu Chandi Bunsu, and bells were caused to be given to them. The oldest inhabitants of Muara Takus descend from the Princess Putri Sri Dunia, who came into her family from Pariangan Padang Panjang Minangkabau. Her beauty became so famous that a Hindu ruler asked her hand in marriage. The princess accepted his proposal under condition that he should build a palace for her. This the Raja did, and the remains of this palace may still be seen at Muara Takus. Then the Raja returned to his own country to make preparations for the wedding. In the meantime, a great Batak army marched on the city. A relative of the princess, named Sultan Palembang, wrote a letter to the Hindu ruler, giving the messenger a basket gantang of seed, as numerous as the seed in the basket, so numerous were the Bataks. The Hindu ruler, however, did not return. When the Bataks arrived at Muara Takus, they found the entire city deserted. Putri Sri Dunia, with her followers, had fled into the forest and married the Datu from Minangkabau. She bore a son, whom she called Indo Dunia, and to this day there is a place in Muara Takus called Galangan Indo Dunia. This youth later became Lord of Muara Takus and was succeeded by Raja Pamuncak Datu di Balai, known in history during the period when the country was converted to Islam. Another legend is as follows. One of the last rulers of Muara Takus or Takui was named Raja Bichau. The city was then so large that a cat could wander from roof to roof for 3 months before reaching the last house. The king had only daughters. When the eldest was about to marry the Maharaja of Johore, all manner of people came to attend the feast and the cookfights. Among the guests were the brothers Singa Mejadian and Singa Mendedean, who had just settled in Gunung Malelo upstream and who had come originally from Rau. Others, however, said that they came from Palembang. One of them asked for the hand of one of the king's daughters, but was refused because he had a hideous skin disease. He now sent his sister's child Kamanakan with a basket of grain in his own head kerchief to his brother Singa Merdeke, Raja of Kuamang Panti, and asked him to send as many as soldiers as there were grains in the basket. The Bataks now came with a huge army and attacked Muara Takus. In this battle, the last Raja Panjang Jumur lost his life. At Batu Besurat, the Bataks threw a calligraph stone into the river and said, "When the stone appears again above the water, we too shall return." At Pamatang Gadang, however, they met with resistance. Here great trees were built up and hauled down upon them. Many corpses were crowded into the stream, and the terrible stench gave it the name Sungai Sibusuk. From here, the bodies came into the Kampar and floated past the place which henceforth was called Bangkai Inang or Bangkinang for Batak corpse. The name Inang, meaning border, was used for Batak because was when fathers of Prasides always exclaimed Inang. It is thought that in ancient times there was an underground stream connecting the Kampar Canal with the Kampar Kiri. The legend tells of a certain Indo-Khatib from the suku Bundang who once went fishing in the neighborhood of Koto Air Tiris. He pursued a fish which had hidden in a hollow in the riverbank. But Indo-Khatib kept a firm grasp on the line by which the fish was caught and so could easily follow the fugitive. At last, he arrived at Kampagiri. A most credible tale relates that formerly there was a stalactite cave near the village Batubala. The water which trickled down from a stream which flowed underground to Gunung Sahilan. Muaratakus was formerly called Sijangkang, a plant of the Lago Undang. The name is said to be derived from Takut, the name of a tributary of the Kampar, so called because this place the people began to fear the lords of Muaratakus. Takut equal fear. This kingdom once ruled over all the surrounding country, and the recollection of this fact had not yet faded. To this day, the ruler of Rokan must make a pilgrimage to Muaratakus before his coronation to have his head anointed with lemon juice, and on the queen's birthday, when all the Panghulus in Bangkinang come to pay their respects to the controller. The Panghul of Muaratakus leads the procession under a golden umbrella. Each of the temple buildings is the stream Ampamo, so called because the water is red as gold. Further east lies the Bukit Katangka. It is glorious to bathe here in the Kampar. The water streams over broad slate banks. One simply sits down and allows the cool water to roll over one's body. The high bank consists of red brown and silver grass cliffs, soft as cake, in which grow numerous graceful ferns. Squirrels with amusing upturned woolly tails frisk about in the underbrush, looking with mischievous eyes at the intruder. At sunset, the natives stand praying on the little promontory. The women entirely shrouded in white and purple veils. Countless prayers have been uttered on these banks in the course of the centuries. The evening wind is full of whispers, the dark river full of shadows. Gently they glide to the vast ocean. Night falls over the Kampar. In the endless jungle stands a lonely stupa. By full, a great, by full moon, a great natural phenomenon takes place in the Kampar. A mighty tidal wave rolls in 60 to 70 kilometers from the sea, destroying everything that lies in its path. A boiling, roaring wall of water 6 feet high is seen approaching. Wild crashes against the bank with a noise like thunder, dumping whole trees into its seething whirlpool. On this, how this bono originates is not known. It also occurs in the Rokan, but is not so high, not so dangerous as in the Kampar. Formerly, they lived at the mouth of the Kampar, a tribe called Singo Bono, near Tanjung Semayang. Is a holy place where many people come to pray. When the Bono approaches there appears on the river a mysterious boat rowed by invisible hands. The appearance of this spirit ship brings good ship the, the appearance of this spirit ship brings good fortune to the entire country. In ancient times, there lived a great chief at Kampar who had a lovely daughter. Her bosom was, however, half female, half male. Many men asked for her hand, but in vain. The girl's only friend was a dog. One day, she became a mother and bore 7 pups. Her father was overcome with the shame and threw the animals into the river. But every time there is a bono, the dogs can be seen returning to seek their mother. They live and growl and destroy everything in their way, but always they become exhausted and return again to the sea. It is also related that the bono is caused by seven white horses which come up to the river in a herd. One a chief shot at them, and the bono stayed away 4 times. But the man became terribly ill and could never walk again. We mortals must be careful. At Kototuo, near Muaratakus, a number of golden relics have been preserved, of which the following legend is told. Datu Jalo Mangkuto once dreamed that he would obtain gold if he gave the mask of the blood of a white karbao. Then he made a black karbao, white with rice flour, and slaughtered it, upon which the Hindu mass emerged from the river in the form of tortoise. The daughter bound him to the pillar of his house. But when the tortoise heard that he had been deceived with a whitened karbao, he tore himself loose. A slave took away his shield. Then the animal went to the slave's mother to beg for his lost shield. She restored it to him, and now he gave to the god to the mother who brought the freedom of her son from Datu Jalo Mangkuto. In bygone days, there was a man from Jambi who set up the Rokan, and in the land of Rokan he ended his journey and remained for several months. His name was Pendek Alang Bekokok. He liked only easy work. If there was a beautiful woman in the village, he made a conquest of her, and every day he made a new carol. The Raja of Rokan wanted to drive him away or kill him and look for someone in his own land bold enough to accomplish this deed. Now in Tanjung Kampar there was a brave man named Datuk Rangsang Kampar, Datuk Nangadang Cincin, and Datuk Peduko Sang Samo was sent to bring him. They met in the mountains between Negeris, Pendalian, and Sibiruang that the dogs barked at each other. Sang Samo said that he was on his way to find Chin. The latter, not wishing to betray himself, said that in 7 days he would bring Chin to Rokan. Then Sang Samo said, where our dogs barked just now is the boundary between Kampar and the Luak Rokan, and to this day the mountain range is called Bukit Kalaran Anjing. Chin returned to Tanjung, called his son Sijuang Palawan, and 6 days later went with him to Rokan. There he promised to help the ruler, after which he and his son found Pekokok and killed him. Now Chin wanted as a reward something to which there would be no end. This wish caused great consternation in Rokan. The Raja sent out messengers. One of them came to Pendalian, and there he found the child which he brought to Rokan. The child said, "Let this be the reward. Let this be the reward that Rokan and Tanjung be united," and so it was.